Let's talk about some of your peers. You've had so many people contribute to your collection over the years. CC Sabathia, Derek Jeter, even Blake Griffin. Describe how they've helped your game.
CC was the first one you mentioned, one of the few I actually got a chance to play with. Share a little bit of that sneaker love with him, as he shares that same affinity for kicks, and to have him present me with a couple of his player edition pair. First pair I got from him were a pair of 2K4 Huarache spikes, and then when he switched the Jordan brand, he was more than happy to send over a couple of pair and even put, proud to be part of the collections. And like you said, Blake Griffin sent over a pair of shoes after I met him in Colorado when I was playing with the Rockies. Got a chance to play with Jimmy Rollins, and he's sent over a couple of pair. Carl Crawford as well, Derek Jeter, like you said, even a couple of Ray Allens. He signed a pair for me as well. There's a number of them, but to have those guys part of it, it goes beyond just the sneaker at that point, and it goes on to either the relationship or just the opportunity to have met another athlete that clearly, if they're getting a P, they're world-class type athletes and some of the best in their sport.
Right. Who would you say is the most meaningful to your career in that regard?
I'd probably say, well, it's a tough decision, because all of them, have some meaning, but, CC, having been a teammate and having been an ambassador of the Jordan brand for a long time, I think he holds a special place.
Mm-hmm. With sneakers in mind, who did you like competing against the most?
I'm trying, when I was in Baltimore, Adam Jones, he's got strong sneaker game both on and off the field. So, I gotta give him props for what he does. He's got a ton of great spikes now that he's able to design and do. I think he's on the Swingman team with Nike. Other teammates that, I think bring it are Troy Tulowitzki in Colorado. Big fan of the Volt he is, I've said that before, but great eye for design. He's designed a number of shoes that are pretty cool, from a Rivas to his spikes, but also takes it off the court. I remember him wearing a pair of Yeezy 2s went out one night, and he had that glow going and almost looked like he was kind of floating on air as he walked across the floor. Danny Valencia, a teammate more recently that I've played with here in Kansas City. He's an up-and-comer. He's got a lot of stuff, and a lot of kicks that can turn some heads and give you some whiplash. So I got to give him a shout out as well.
Who do you see superseding you as the biggest sneakerhead in the majors?
For you to give me that title, that's kind. It's tough to decide, who is and who isn't the biggest sneakerhead. What makes a sneakerhead? I don't know that I am the biggest, but I'd say I'm dedicated. I've been doing it, did it a long time. But a guy that I see that could really carry the torch on, is a guy like Pedro Alvarez over in Pittsburgh. He grew up in New York City. This guy has stuff that is old, stuff that's vintage, as well as the new stuff, and his collection is impressive, and the way he reps it is equally impressive. So, as I watch his game, he's a guy that I've been keeping my eye on, be it Instagram or on television, and I think he's a guy that has the ability to take the game from where it is today, and move it forward.
Now let's get into the state of the game right now. Describe how much has changed from when you first got into it until now.
It's just totally different than when I was younger, and I think that's part of I think that's part of the way everything changes in life. And I think that's part of why like I said before, what's led me to be where I'm at today and retiring and going on to different things. But shoot, I mean, the way things are released, it's obviously the biggest, probably the biggest difference. There's no more, well, not as many campouts. And when you are camping out, you're not camping out and walking away with a sneaker, but you're walking away with a ticket, a raffle ticket, or some IOU or something, You're not walking away with sneakers, you're walking away with a piece of paper. And, back in those days, the camp out, you felt the gratification of walking away from that with your kicks, hopefully in your size. And if it wasn't your size, you just did whatever you could to get your size afterward. Certainly eBay, was there. eBay's been around a long time now, but that changed and kind of altered the way the game is. And I think now you look at it, consignment shops. Most guys now, a lot of guys buy stuff from consignment shops. You don't got to go and get them on the day of the release, but you pick them up a little bit later, and it certainly costs you extra money to do that. But just to think about just the quantity of shoes that are out there and how easy it is to get on your computer or your phone, click a couple of buttons, and you see someone wearing a pair of kicks. Back when we were young, you had to go to that store and figure out how to go buy them, right? I think, for me, one story that I think sums it all up was mid-90s, 95, 96. I'm playing basketball at a local tournament called the Shakespearean Slam in Ashland, Oregon. And I'm watching a guy, he's hooping in that white and obsidian color era tempo that I was talking about, that Ray Allen wore. And it was a shoe that I had seen Ray wear on television, and I really wanted to have it, but it wasn't sold in Southern Oregon. And so I asked him, I said, where did you get that shoe? Because I picked it up at the Nike store up in Eugene. And Eugene was about, I'm trying to think here, probably 150, 160 miles from where I lived. And I said, when did you get it? He said, I got it a couple of weeks ago. So I went home that day, and made a phone call up to that store, asked if they had any more pairs left. They said, we got one more pair left. It's a size 14. And I was a size 13, but for me, you got to have the shoe. I tell people all the time, they ask me what size I am, I'm 11 to 14, because I'll make it happen. You got to make it happen no matter what size it is. You got to figure out a way to get it on your foot. And so I said, please hold it for me. I'll be up there tomorrow morning. So I took off about 3:34 in the morning, drove up to Eugene, picked up the shoe, purchased it, and drove all the way back to Ashland in time for my game that morning in the tournament. Now it's like you see somebody with a pair of kicks on that maybe you didn't know about or hadn't seen, or maybe just seen it on someone's foot, says, wow, I got to have that shoe. You get online, you make 2 phone calls to whatever place you got to go get them, and they're overnighted or they're sent 2 days later and you have the shoe, right? So just different. I think that for me is probably the biggest thing. And then, just the number of people that are now in it. You never want to discourage anyone from getting the sneaker game, but just the mass quantities of kids now that are developing that, that interest and that love is so much different from when I was a youngster.
Now, Jeremy, you and I both know guys like you and Michael Jordan can't fully stay away from the game. So how do you plan on staying close to the game in your retirement, if at all?
Well, that's the tough thing. You step away from something like this. It's been a part of you and is a part of you. How do you separate yourself completely? And I think, like MJ said, I'm not going to be a everyday sneakerhead, but if I see something around, I wouldn't discount the fact that I might be able to pick it up. Just like he would play some hoop on the side. I might play some sneakers on the side, but in terms of the day-to-day grind, I think that for me is really where the retirement will give me the most benefit. Allow me to get back and rededicate myself to my family, to my kids, my job, to really be able to get centered back on those things and not have the distraction and the of the sneakers that can really consume you.
Will you leave the game with any regrets?
You never want to say leave something with regrets. Would you have done something better? Would you have done something a little different? I think that's going to be the case for most anybody in any field of life. But regrets, no. I think about moments I'd like to have back. I think back to 2004. I'm a student at Stanford, going back after my second professional season in baseball, and I'm hearing about that LeBron first game releasing at Nike Town, San Francisco. And I'm sleeping on it. And I mean, I'm literally sleeping on it. I'm back at home in my dorm room sleeping instead of out there on the pavement in San Francisco, Union Square, trying to get that sneaker. And that's kind of haunted me a little bit to this day. That's a pair of shoes I still have never acquired, one that I've always wanted. I got 2 or 3 of the other colorways of the Zoom generation, but not that white red with that embroidered first game date. And so, those are moments, there's a few of those that you look back and say, wow, I wish I would have just had the focus and the energy to go out there and do it. But, overall, I got no regrets.
All right, now we're talking legacy now. How would you want people to remember you during your time in the game?
It's tough to define what you want someone else to view you as. But hopefully, hopefully someone would see me as someone that had passion for it from day one. Passionate about what the sneakers meant. Passionate about wearing them. Passionate about kind of being an ambassador of sneakers. And there are so many that have had that title, and so many that have done that throughout their lives. You can't celebrate one man for what he's done when there's thousands that have done it alongside with him. But I feel like I have been. I feel like I've been an ambassador in a small way to the people that I've been in contact with, and I'd like to be remembered as someone that was just passionate about it from the moment that it kind of seeped into my system, until this moment.
Really.
I appreciate it, man. It was great. It was great. It was awesome. Man, you start thinking about, you know, you asked me how the game has changed. Man, think back to like the days of East Bay magazine. I mean, that was our Bible, right? That thing came in the mail. You know, that was more important than the Sports Illustrated or anything else you could ever get in the mail. You said, Mom, where's the East Bay? And you're going through that, you know, all day long, looking at all the new kicks. And think about an East Bay today. I mean, that's the change, right? Look at it. If you got an East Bay today, it'd be as thick as the Bible. Right. You get an East Bay back in the day, you know, had 20 pages, 3 or 4 different colors of Jordans, a couple of Nike basketball shoes. And now, you know, now it's like there's just so many releases every single week that, you know, it's just a different beast. It's time consuming.
Speaking of that Sports Illustrated, you had so many of them when I came. What are you going to do with those? You got
those will stay out. Those, I'm not retiring from Sports Illustrated. Okay. You know, those, you know, SIs for me are, you know, go back to my childhood. So still got a bunch this year. We actually got featured on a couple of them. Nice. The Royals team as we made the playoff run. So those aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, the one shoe that I remember from your collection the most is that Terrell Owens. Remember I was talking about gray was my favorite color, and you put out, you were like, the silver work? I was like, yeah. Yeah,
no, the Terrell Owens, and you know the story, getting that, the Air Jordan 3 Terrell Owens signed by him through a buddy that played with Buffalo. But yeah, that's certainly one of those shoes that you look at and you're like, wow, you know, pretty cool that I have it. As few of them as there may be in the world. To know that Terrell Owens, you know, wore it in a Pro Bowl like that, and it's cool. Every sneaker has a story, and I think that's when you look back and you say, you know, these ones all have stories, and you get to this point now where you're picking up so many of them every single week that you kind of lose that, you know, that passion and kind of that, you know, that intimacy with every sneaker, because you can't have a story for 50 pair of shoes that come out every single weekend, but you know, back in the day, you did. Every sneaker you got, you know, you relished the time you had with it for however long it was before you got that next one. Yeah. And now it's just boom, boom, boom. You know, one sneaker this weekend, even 2, 3 in one weekend, and the next weekend you're getting 2, 3 more. Yeah. It just, you know, it can grind on you. Just a different beast. You know, a different animal than it once was.
All right. Well, you know, I'm not in Kansas City long, so we need to go get some barbecue, man.
Yes, sir. Let's go do it. And you need to. You keep carrying the torch for us on the sneakers too.
Yeah, thank you.
You'll do it big.
Thank you.